naval deterrence, conventional deterrence in the 1800s was based at the Pax Britannica was, really predicated on British sea superiority over everything regarding the sea. Ships, people, technology, industrial base, trade base, finance, political support, you name it. And the British were able to keep large wars from happening in Europe with their navy based on their command of the sea and their lines of communication. But the difference between stability and sort of nuclear strategy and nuclear deterrence is that there was no room for stability in conventional deterrence at sea in anything other than the British were superior in whatever class of sea, seagoing effort there was. So space probably requires an equal, a similar kind of deterrence based on conventional superiority across all aspects of space activities. Next slide. I was trying to think about what the difference between satellites and what these maneuver vehicles might be like the Starship, and I came up with the balloon versus the airplane in World War One. And balloons were very useful, as we've seen. They are still fairly useful. But interestingly enough, in World War One, there were both balloons and there were fighter aircraft, not a B-17, sure enough, but there were both. But there was never ever that anyone in the air university could figure out whether there was an engagement between a balloon and a Zeppelin against another balloon or a Zeppelin. So really, if you wanted to come up with a air war theory or an air war strategy, you had to have aircraft. And why is that? Because aircraft provided adequate movement and maneuver to become true militarily useful weapons. And I would argue that the SpaceX Starship is probably going to be similar to the airplane in that it has real useful movement and maneuver as opposed to satellites. And I've got a little bit of operational experience with satellite, maneuver. It's really not there. Um, it would be extremely hard to fight in space with satellites. It just would, to the point where both the attacker and defender would probably be mostly useless afterwards. So
Okay. So what you're saying is, uh, heads up, we're moving from a space situation with a lot of balloons. Probably we're transitioning to things in space that are going to move around a lot more dynamically than balloons. And
and because of
therefore,
that,
you know, what you think you know is about to change.
and it might be more space warfare might happen, especially on the physical level, more often, and we need to be able to see what it is and truthfully and really identify what's going on so we don't misinterpret the situation and either under respond or over respond. Yeah, ultimately space will continue to be dynamic, which means that stability in space for anything other than American superiority in all aspects of space technology, or China for that matter, is probably not going to be uh, available. Therefore, we should not base our deterrence ideas on space warfare on stability. Next slide. And why is this important? Because we might have movement and maneuver on the space battlefield with the SpaceX Starship soon, and we need to incorporate that into our strategic thinking.